Welcome back
All
to
right.
the BudsnReality show. I'm Sean Collins, the guy with a lot to say, and I'm here with a couple of cool guests today. I'm here with Ryan Brennan and Cassie Rumor. Wait, did I get your name right, Ryan Brennan?
Yes, you got my name right, Sean
Oh,
Collins.
okay. Wow. I was like, did I just say that right? Son of a bitch. I was going to be feel really stupid if I got that wrong when I just asked you about it. But anyways, I'm Sean and I am back. It's been a minute. I'm sorry. I had to take a hiatus for a little bit. I had to concentrate on my health. I am going to have surgery next week, so I wanted to put something out in the world before I went there, because I won't be back for probably a couple weeks at least to heal up, but I will have a bunch of free time on my hands after that because I got 6 weeks to recover from my surgery. So you will see lots of shows after the first couple weeks of me healing. But with that being said, I wanted to do this show because I just read a book. By Lysander Spooner called No Treason, the Constitution of No Authority, which I know Ryan's read it. For somebody like us in general, who's, a libertarian or an anarchist or a constitutionalist, we live and breathe, the Constitution per se. Like our rights are our rights. We fight for those, and it's kind of, something that's been a war cry for people on our side of things for the most part. And then I read this fucking book, dude. And it was kind of a game changer. So, what if I said, after me saying I love the Constitution so much and blah, 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 and you guys have heard me talking about the Constitution for, well over a year on this show now. And now I'm going to sit here and ask you all, like, what if I told you the Constitution was null and void and it had no meaning behind it and it doesn't protect us the way like we think or want it to? And also, what if I said that slavery was never abolished, but it was commercialized? And when I read that, I was like, wow. And then when you look in and you dig into that, it really opens your mind a minute. And Ryan's read the book. And I know you've heard me talk about it a million times. We actually tried to do a Twitter space about it that turned into a disaster.
Yeah, that worked well.
But it's true. Like, none of us ever signed that piece of paper that says it's protecting us from the government. And the people who wrote that piece of paper are all dead. So how is that a contractual agreement between us and the government? And then also, they say they abolished slavery, but did they? Because I know all of us go to work 40 plus hours a week and bust our ass and give our blood and sweat and maybe some tears out there. And then all of a sudden the government extorts half your pay to do whatever they will with it. I mean, so I don't know what else to call that, but that's slavery to me. I never consented to anybody taking my money ever, nor did I consent to be ruled over by a bunch of narcissistic psychopaths. And with that, I want to give it to Ryan real quick and put his 2 cents in there.
Real quick, just to introduce myself, I'm Ryan Brennan, Michigan rabble rouser, liberty activist, and the only RinBrinley you know. Lysander Spooner informed most of my decision to embrace anarchy. It was overnight. A lot of people say the difference between minarchy and anarchism is 6 months. For me, it was one book. He basically shook my faith in the political process, particularly in the democratic process, as well as the idea that we need a constitution to protect our rights or to confer them. Whereas a lot of people think that constitutions grant rights to its civilians. What it does, or what it purports to do, is to restrict the scope of the government, to restrict them. You are born with rights. The government can only take them away. They can't give them to you. They can only give you entitlements, as far as I'm concerned. For me, the questions like, what does it mean to consent to being governed? Is it like implied? Is it by voting? Is it paying taxes? These sorts of things really question my faith in the government, particularly in the time of COVID. How can we even say that we've adequately consented to being governed? Is our current government even resting on consent? I would say no. Our agencies as citizens is slim to none in my estimation. Like Sean said, you have to pay taxes. You can't say no to these government services. They basically planted a flag and stated that since we are offering you this service, you must pay for it. And if you don't, we will take it from you by force if necessary. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see much legitimacy in their authority. So
That's right. That's right. What does Cassie Rumor think about this whole Constitution thing that I just threw out there?
I believe that freedom is a state of mind, and you are as free as you believe you are. I believe the next book that you should look at would be Natural Rights, another one by Spooner, and it delves into a lot of that. And I've read that years ago. But the Constitution is words on paper, and I am really sick of hearing arguments about the translation of the Constitution, and I'm really sick of hearing arguments of people that supposedly support the Constitution wanting to change and abolish parts of the Constitution. I don't know. You're right. Slavery was commercialized in more ways than most people expect, and at more times in history than most people expect.
Right. And
the 13th Amendment allowed for that. And it just took it from being a racial issue to being a term that the government or the state can define. And now it's not a matter of if you're, of a certain color, ethnic background, or, who are we at war with? Let's, round all those people up.
Right.
We're not doing that. It's more like, okay, let's pass a law and target this group of people, and then we'll heavily enforce it. And then we'll throw them in jail, or we'll send them outside of the road for 17 cents an hour or a day, or what the hell ever your state does, that is literally slavery, where you're going out and working for nothing. And you do that, or you sit in whatever isolation or whatever while everybody else goes out and does that. This is your life now because we passed a law that targeted you, whether that be for your race or your political background. You'll see the Republicans do it to the Democrats and back and forth, vice versa. You'll see the state do it to anarchists and libertarians, and Larry Sharp.
Oh man, they did Larry Sharp dirty. I've talked about this on the show many times.
Exactly.
The system hates libertarians or any third party so much that they will literally fight you to the death to keep you off the ballot. I mean, Larry Sharp, for crying out loud, I've said it on the show before, that the man got all the signatures he needed. He raised all the money he needed to raise to get on the ballot, and then gets sued by the Republican and Democrat candidate, and they win, and they ended up keeping him off the ballot, even though he raised all his money and got all his signatures. That's how disgusting the system is. They will work together at all costs to keep the power that they have. And there's plenty of other instances like that, like certain, libertarians in general, or any third party in general, have to take a certain amount of percentage of the votes in order to even get on the ballot, which I think is insane. If you are a credible person running for an office, you should be on the ballot, and by credible, I mean, like, you campaigned, you did your thing, you won. Like, say, hypothetically, a libertarian ran against a bunch of other libertarians to be a congressman. That congressman gets to be on the ballot because he won that, campaign through the Libertarian Party. And I feel the same way about Green Party, or Tea Party, or even the fucking Pirate Party, because I know that's a thing now.
I don't care what party you are. And I tell people this in my spaces and whatnot all the time. I don't care what party you are. I don't care if you are libertarian, anarchist, socialist, Green Party, Pirate Party, Forward Party, Nazi Party, Socialist Party. I don't give a fuck. Don't support the big two. Don't support this, duopoly, this uniparty, this system of oppressors. If you're gonna vote against that. I don't care how you vote. Don't try to push your shit on me, and go live your life. I don't care what your beliefs are,
But just know that nothing is ever going to get better if we keep electing these same people.
No,
it's not going to happen.
No way.
And that, that goes without saying. But, what if I also said that the Constitution was a false sense of security, wave like a carrot and dangle it in front of us saying, hey, if we are able to extort half your pay, you can have these freedoms.
Yep. And I was going to say something similar when you were talking about Larry Sharpe. You go through all of this and then you lose, and then they'll sit there and they have like the audacity to say something along the lines of, well, there's a system and tools in place for you to, go against this decision or whatever to fight back, but the only options you're given are options within the system they created.
That's right. That's right.
It's yeah.
Spooner also touched on in this book, and listen, y'all, I highly, 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 highly recommend everyone read No Treason by Lysander Spooner. That's how like infatuated I am with this book now. But he also touched on something in this book where, how is the United States even a country? Because there is no deed signed for the land. There's no contract. Nothing has been signed ever. So this piece of property between the Atlantic and the Pacific have no deed written. This land was stolen. I mean, and just like every other country in the world, pretty much all countries' land has been stolen, but there is no deed to it. So how is the United States even the United States? And I know Ryan wants to chime in on that part because he likes it.
Realistically, the only thing I really care about is the aspect of his argument that pertains to what it means to what it means to consent to being governed, and the difference between political and chattel slavery. There's only a difference in degree and not in like practicality, in my opinion. Slavery is still a real thing, and you guys say it's been commercialized. I think it's been nationalized. We're political slaves to the system that we did not consent to.
Yep, you got it.
And as an anarchist, like I really don't care about what if the United States is a legitimate place or not. Like, to enough people it is, and when it comes to like trying to convince them or show them exactly what they're being subjected to, I mean, saying that the United States is stolen land, I mean, people will agree or disagree, but it's more so like pointing out the glaring elephant in the room, that is, how did you adequately consent to this system where you're being screwed over every 2-4 years by people who don't give a damn about you, to a system that you were born into and somehow implies your consent to operating within it and being subject to it? That removes all your agency as a person. So I feel like that's a more important topic to me than if the United States is actually a real place or an actual real country. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But he did touch on that on the book, and it kind of was like, whoa, dude, like I've never heard it put that way before, and I can't believe I've been a Spooner guy forever. I've just never read that book. I'm 43 years old. I can't believe I was 43 the first time I ever read that. And that would have changed everything, 20 plus years ago, even if I would have read it, but there's, he also spoke about, now there's a big part in there about central banking and blood money, war per se. Now, and he's talking about this even before the Federal Reserve. Central banks have been a problem since the inception of governments and currency. And what they do is, a lot of people don't understand how this goes. Like right now, we're in a financial crisis. And what the government loves to do during a financial crisis is go to war. I mean, this has been going on for decades and centuries. I mean, it's just what they do. When the currency starts to die, they go to war because it gets the money machines printing again. But the central banks are, and they also do these wars so these central banks can set up in these countries to loan money to the countries that have been torn up, knowing that charging insane interest, knowing that these countries won't be able to pay it back. And then if they don't pay it back, they go fuck them up again just to keep them in line. I mean, he's talking about this. This book was written in 1867. 1867, not even it was published in 1867. He might have wrote it before that. Now, that's not even 100 years after the whole 1776 and the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And there's a man out there saying, hey, I didn't consent to shit. I didn't sign shit, and I'm not obligated to pay for your shit. And this isn't even 100 years later. I mean, the United States government has been rotten to the core since the inception of this country. We've been duped this whole time from the very beginning, the whole time. Everything's been false when it comes to, them telling us we're free and stuff like that. Like, ask yourself if you're free or sovereign when you get half of your pay extorted from you, and then they go out and mismanage half your pay, and then they come back after you saying they need more money to fix the shit they fucking fucked up. Absolutely not. I didn't consent to that. I know none of us would ever consent to that. This is very crazy. How are you free and sovereign when this is happening right under our noses? We are complicit, and it needs to end right now. Cassie, take it. Oh, I lost you. Where you at?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
We're not free and sovereign. We're
No.
not. Period. That's, I don't know. I feel like I could go on forever about that, but it would be pointless, because when it really comes down to it, if you look at any aspect of our life, like every aspect, we are not free and sovereign, down to the place where you live, like the city you live in.
Right.
So, your local government, state government, national, you can go all the way up, you can expand all the way out. Look at everything in society around you. We're not free. You're not. I mean, everything's licensed, everything's insured. You have to do this, have to do that, or you can't do this. It's bullshit.
You can't even take a shit without the government, for real. Dude. Like, you pay tax on your toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you pay tax on your toilet paper, and you pay for your outgoing water.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it costs money to take a shit. I mean, I'm glad we went there on this show.
Right.
But, the term of events in this country have been happening since the very inception of it. And we have all been raised and taught in our schools and by the system to believe that this system is this all glorious thing, and that the Constitution means everything. And like you said, it's just words on paper. It's not protecting us. And now, you want to know how I know it's not protecting us? Because who's able to make amendments to the Constitution? The government. Who has a say in that? Not us. How are you free and sovereign then? Same thing. How you got to keep asking yourself, how are you free and sovereign when you look at things from this perspective? We're not. We are cattle. We are slaves. We need to change this shit immediately. I wish folks would really, really wake up right now.
And another thing, it's just like, how is there any other contract where if like you say, I don't want to be a part of whatever's going on here, they say, well, I guess you have to uproot your home and move somewhere else, move to some other geopolitical place where you have to consent to that contract or leave as well. Like, if you don't want to be a part of your local church, no one's telling you to leave that community. But apparently, if you don't consent to the government, well, I guess you got to leave.
Right.
And then they'll be like, well, you voted for this, you chose this. You'd be like, chose this out of what? The 2 available options where they snuff out every other option, including mine. No,
my favorite argument is when they're just like, well, because I don't vote. I really don't believe in it at this point. Like, I'm with your shirt, Cassie. A lot of, like, my favorite argument is when they're just like, well, you didn't vote, so you'd have no right to complain. It's like, no, I have a lot of right to complain. I didn't consent to the system. Voting for it is participating in that system that lends it credence. George Carlin, grew up watching him. Maybe I shouldn't have watched him when I was young, or maybe I should have, because now
everybody needs to watch Carlin, man.
Yeah, so like I feel like I have more right to complain because I'm not participating in the system that everyone's complaining about, but still participating in.
You support this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I'd say it all the time, like voting third party or whatever. It doesn't even have to be a libertarian. Voting third party is a very bold and brave vote. And so is not voting at all, because you're making a statement saying you've had enough of the bullshit. You've had enough. And I think we're getting there with a lot of people, but a lot of people don't know where to go from here. And a lot of people are scared to go outside the box. I mean, it's kind of been cool to watch, like, what was her name? Christina Sigma? I forget. She was a Democrat who left the party to become an independent.
Oh, yeah, in Arizona.
Yeah.
In Arizona. And I think that's great.
Kristen Sinema.
Yeah, yes, that's right. And, I think that's great that she did that. I wish a lot more people would follow suit. I was really excited when Tulsi Gabbard jumped ship, but then I did some reading up on her and I'm not too sure about her anymore. But also, like, she's jumping on the GOP's nuts. You know what I mean? Like, she ain't going to be an independent at all. She's out there on Tucker Carlson doing her thing or whatever. And I'm not voting for status if I do vote. I'm not doing it. I will never do it. What's the point in doing it? I don't even think we should be voting for this kind of shit anyways. You're literally picking someone else's master and or your own. That's what voting is. You're literally voting for your next master.
Which master do I
Pick your,
want for
pick
the
your
next 2
favorite
years?
murderer.
Yeah, right.
You know, exactly. You know, and this has been going on since the beginning, and it really sucks. But, you know, it really, you know, you guys heard us talk about this book a little bit. I'm sure it's perked your interest a little bit. I highly, highly recommend go reading it. But I do want to move on to something else that's pretty serious right now. That's really going on, and it affects everyone. It affects every single American in the country, and that's what's going on with the banks right now. And it's very real. I mean, banks are running out of money, and there's nothing to back them. And it's a situation where, you know, this was, you know, the whole Silicon Valley Bank thing, you know, that was just a little taste. That's just the calm before the storm. Something is coming. It's very big. And this is what I want to say right now, friends. Run the banks. Run the fucking banks. Get your cash out. I know I sound like a lunatic right now, but for real, get your cash out of the banks as much as you can. You're going to need tangible cash. Buy some tangible gold and silver. It's got to be tangible, whether it be coins or bars. I like the bars better, but some people like the coins. Whatever, get you some. Seriously, make sure it's credible. There's a lot of bullshit out there. It's really time to start protecting your money and yourself. It's not a game right now. What's happening? A financial collapse is on the horizon, and it's going to happen. I don't know what else to say about it. You know, the forecast is there. You know, poetry's in motion right now. The Federal Reserve is like kind of in panic mode, but kind of not in panic mode. They're actually licking their chops right now because they actually want these small banks to fail so they can swallow them up. Now, hear me out, folks. We can all agree that the Federal Reserve is an absolute evil entity and needs to be abolished effective immediately. I mean, things would change dramatically almost right off the rip if we decentralized our money, you know? And here's the thing. Let's go to the inception of the Federal Reserve. You know who started the Federal Reserve? A couple of bankers and a congressman. It was a recipe for disaster right off the rip, dude. The Rothschilds are in on it. I believe JP Morgan was in on it. You know, I'm not too sure what the congressman was in on it, but there was a congressman. And so now you have bankers and people from government in charge of your money. I don't think that sounds good to any single one of us. And now they want to swallow up all these banks and control everything. They don't want any more little or independent banks. I mean, this is happening right in front of our eyes, you know, and if you're not financially literate, I really recommend the folks read End the Fed by Ron Paul or The Theory of Money and Credit by Ludwig von Mises. You will learn a lot from those books, most definitely. And I feel like if you really, really, really want to understand how money works, read those books. You know, what do you think about this financial shit, Cassie? I mean, where are you at? Where do you think, what are you trying to do for your plan?
I already live in as much of an agorist lifestyle as possible in our society and in my situation right now. They still get me on sales tax here and there, but until I can find a way to just eliminate that altogether, you know, and I'm going to do my best to do that. I want to point out two things in regards to what you were saying. Anybody that hears the phrase "run the banks" and they get mad or they get scared or they get angry because that's going to hurt the banks or what have you, you need to ask yourself why. Why is that going to hurt the banks? Because the answer to that question is terrifying. And it's right up there along with my second point. Who controls your money? They pass laws and they have regulations, banking regulations, government regulations on how the money is produced per se. And that's all done with fractional reserve banking. And if you guys haven't heard about that, you should go check that out. Do
read End the Fed.
Read In the Fed. Do your own research. Because the fact that fractional reserve banking exists and they are in control of it is another form of slavery. Because even if like you put money in the bank and they just devalue it, like they don't even have to tax you. It's it's bullshit.
They don't have to tax you. They have inflation. They're in charge of inflation and everything, and the interest rates and shit like that. I mean, you have no say in what happens with the money. And so when I'm saying run the banks, I mean, go get your cash out. You want your cash, because once that cash is gone, and don't say, hey, I'm broke and I'm under the $250,000 threshold or whatever. If there's no money to help the FDIC bail out your money's gone. I don't care if you got $5 in the bank. They're fucking taking it, dude. And that's a sad truth.
And these banks go upside down, and then the government bails them out. With what money? Like,
yours.
Look at where that comes from, and really look into, you'll hear politicians use the word debt and deficit, and to, I guess, the untrained ear, I could say, somebody who isn't like into all the different terms the media uses and how they change definitions and how they'll like word something a certain way to pull the heartstrings. They'll say, our deficit is half of what it was last year or whatever. Why the fuck do we have a deficit? And look at where that deficit money is coming from, because that is printing money. They bail out the banks, they print more money. The Ukraine needs money, they print more money. Oh, we're going to give everybody a stimulus check, they print more money. And if you're not one of these parties that's receiving this money, or if you are just like sitting there with your money in the bank and what have you, every time they do this, they're literally taking your money, like literally by devaluing it. They're just throwing money into the system. And even if you just sit back and don't want to participate, if you're not in gold and silver and like tangible food and ammunition, like, let's get real here. If you're not in to hard assets, then you're just getting screwed over every time they pass a law, every time they print money. You're just chipping away at your life.
Well, I mean, and that's where inflation comes from, is from them printing money, and then the dollar loses value, and that's where inflation comes from. Now, when we go to a full-scale war with Russia, and it's going to happen, it's coming, and it's going to be real bad, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but like, just wait when that war starts. This inflation that we saw just recently that was out of control is going to get way more out of control, way more. Remember what happened in the Iraq war during Bush? Inflation like a motherfucker, because he was printing that money. They were printing that money, dude.
This one's going to be different.
But we need to decentralize, and that's the whole point here. This is why I'm so, advocating for gold, silver, Bitcoin. I know a lot of people aren't into Bitcoin and they don't believe in it, but I'm telling you guys right now that, number one, I do believe in it now. I really do. But number two, there's Bitcoin ATMs here in Michigan at the gas stations. You can go do it. Merchants are taking Bitcoin now as currency. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Get in, get on, decentralize your money, decentralize yourself. Ryan, take it.
All right. So, Sean, I prefer risk jog on the banks. We're not trying to encourage fear here. To be frank with you, you guys are saying that the dollar is losing value. Like, the dollar is valueless. It doesn't have any value.
Well, yeah, it's counterfeit money. It's counterfeit money at this point.
Yeah, it's monopoly money. Yes. And like this entire bank fiasco is just going to prove that point to everyone. It's going to point out the elephant in the room. Like, your dollar doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any value to it at all. Look at your dollar right now. It doesn't say silver note. It doesn't guarantee you like the value of the equivalent of a certain ounce of silver or gold or anything like that. It's just Federal Reserve note, which means the value is determined by men in smoky rooms who are playing with the value of said currency every single day without your consent.
Yes.
The dollar in your pocket, the dollar that you're forced to use to pay rent, to buy your food, to do all that, is being ripped out from underneath you. And it's going to, and if the house of cards falls, and it looks like it's starting to, this Keynesian economic house of cards, you're going to learn real quick just what can happen with fiat currency when a bunch of men in smoky rooms play with fire. And that's exactly what's happening. Now, I think that it's a little myopic to just focus on like different types of currency and all that good stuff. I feel like Cassie hit on it just now with the growing the food, acquiring skills. Skills are becoming resilient, having the ability to grow your own food, hunt your own food, just like make your own liquor.
Homesteading.
I don't know.
Homesteading.
Yeah. That's very important. Creating your own communities, turning inwardly to your local communities to create private social safety nets for everyone involved. Like
Make trade and barter
encouraging
great
a
again.
culture of resilience in the face of government fiat destroying lives.
Yes.
That's where I'm at.
I mean, well, because you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we're at a point now where not only do we need to decentralize our currency, we need to decentralize ourselves. And that's going to have to require bringing back a sense of community and figuring out like, hey, like hypothetically say, hey, everybody's growing gardens. You're really good at growing corn. I'm really good at growing tomatoes. You're really good at growing cucumbers, right? Well, grow lots, trade within each other. You know what I mean? Stay away from the stores. Don't give your money to the system. Make trade and barter great again. I know a lot of people have a hard time with a sense of community. I know people, I get it. I'm on that level. Trust me, I'm a recluse. I barely leave my house, but we really need to bring some sort of sense of community back if we want to decentralize ourselves from the federal government.
And I want to point something out. When I said earlier that I practice agorism to the extent that I can in our society and in my life, what Sean just said, if more people grew their own food and made their own products and bartered within their community, it would be a hell of a lot easier for me to go full agorism. I need more of that. We all need more of that, because right now our options are options that are taxed, that are controlled by the state. We need people to start homesteading. We need people that know woodworking, metalworking, and can make tools and whatnot, and barter within your community for goods and services.
And you need friends with CNC machines just in case they try to take our guns, and 3D printers.
Yeah, I honestly think that I don't see any way that we can vote our way out of this.
We're not
I
voting
think
our
it's
way
going
out
to
of
be
this.
more of a turning inwardly to your communities, decentralized action, and making people, freeing people from this idea that they need the government, and removing their necessity or their need for it, and making them more resilient. We need more agorists, to be honest with you. We need more local community building.
Yes.
We also need people going to their local city hall meetings and going to talk to their local sheriffs and their local mayors about the nullification process. We are allowed to do that. Let's make nullification great. If you don't know what nullification is, it's pretty much disbanding yourself from the federal government's unconstitutional rules and running your each city, town, county, whatever, as you will. I am a big advocate for nullification, and that is one of the biggest ways we can decentralize from the federal government. Talk to your people, talk to your city officials about Bitcoin and start using Bitcoin with them. You know what I mean? Like, it is very imperative that we get away from this federal system, because number one, we're not voting our way out of it. It's never going to get better. It's only going to get worse. You guys, I don't want to black pill you, dude, but it's the point where I really want to do this show and be like, everything's fine. Life is great. Everybody's flourishing. There's peace and prosperity. We're not allowed to have peace and prosperity. The United States government and the media will not allow us to have peace and prosperity. They want us at each other's throat. It has to end now. We have to wake the fuck up. We are running out of time. Seriously. We are running out of time. And when I say that, I mean, we're running out of time to have a very peaceful revolution. It still can be done, but it's going to take the masses waking up. I know we've been doing it little by little, but we really need to grab people in droves now, because we are running out of time. And the last thing I ever want to see is a violent revolution. I don't ever want to see that. I don't. I want to go live in the forest and be left the fuck alone. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to see people running around with guns in the streets, because then I'm going to have to load up and protect myself and my family. That's terrifying.
Yes.
But here we are. We have to have these conversations. We have to talk about it, dude, because nobody else is. And shit's getting very real. Dude, if a financial crash happens, you're going to see the Wild West happen, dude. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And we really, really, really need to figure it out, you guys. I love all of you very much. That's why I do this show. I don't do this show to hear myself talk. I already pay attention and know what's going on. but I know there's a lot of people that aren't, and I'm trying to get a message out. Some people might think I'm a fucking lunatic. Some people might be like, hey man, this crazy guy's onto something. I don't know, but as long as you're listening, I don't really care, you know, but we need each other. We need each other at this point, or we're not going to win. You know, where's Ryan at on this?
Oh, I am right there with you. In the state of Michigan, I've been working on coalitioning with just about everyone that's willing to coalition with me to help get the word out. Essentially, I want to work with people. I want to build up trust with people. I want to build local communities. I want people to be reliant in themselves, you know, reliant on themselves, not on a government, not on a group, not on anyone else other than, you know, what they can do for them. And when they're self-sufficient, when they can adequately take care of themselves, they can give to the community. And then the community can give to other people. It can raise other people up and make people even less, you know, dependent on anyone or anything. And I believe that is the best, the most peaceful revolution that I can think of, is freeing people's minds.
Absolutely.
Freeing them from the idea that they are dependent on a government, a group, or just about anyone other than themselves, and what they can offer to the community and what the community can offer to them. We need to turn back to our local communities, to our families, to our friends, and to the communities around us.
That's where decentralization and nullification start, is in the local realm. That's how it begins. The federal government's never going to decentralize itself. Never will they do that. They would all be out of jobs then. You know what I mean? They're not going to fucking do that. It is up to us to decentralize. It's just, we have to. We don't have a choice anymore. I know Casi, like, we're all fed up, dude. We've all had enough of this shit, dude. It gets to be taxing. You know, part of the reason, you know, I put the show on the shelf for a minute is to take care of my health. But part of my health is like keeping my stress levels down. And when I'm getting material to do this show, if you read the news and you're not ready to go to war and you're not stressed out, you're doing the news wrong, dude, because what's coming out right now is extremely stressful, you know, but you got to just learn to take it with a grain of salt and try to make the best out of it and get the information out that you need to people, you know. And Casi does a great thing with DT, you know, and you're doing great things with the, you know, Libertarian Party of Wayne County. You know, I dig what you guys do. And, you know, we make our tweets and we talk our shit to politicians, and that's great. We're doing it, you know, but now we gotta figure out how to pull in the masses, and that's where we need to be, you know. And then, you know, if we want to move on from money to World War III, because we need to talk about that too. You know,
just a really delightful transition there.
I know, right? Like, hey, let's go from bad news to bad news to bad news. But like, you guys, we are on the brink of a nuclear fallout. Like, shit could get very real. Like, you know, Putin said he's going to use nukes, and he stayed true to everything he said he was going to do so far. He's done it. So when he's saying, you know, you guys keep fucking around and you put boots in the dirt here, I'm going to start blowing off nukes. That should be taken extremely seriously, very seriously. What's up, Casi?
Agorism, man. How do we get everybody in the world to just unanimously, simultaneously just reject their government, reject its authority? Like, I no longer acknowledge you. And if we could just do that, then, you know, I mean, we have to all do it. Like, we got to get in touch with the people in Russia, the people in Ukraine, the people in China, the people in Taiwan.
The people, not their government.
People.
Yeah, the people.
And, there's so much infighting in the Libertarian Party on whether they support Ukraine or you support Russia and all this bullshit. You know, I support the people.
Exactly.
And I don't think anybody wants this, you know. Like, when it really comes down to it, we're just like all pawns. We're pawns.
We are pawns. We're slaves. We're pawns.
Collateral damage, bro. We are straight collateral damage. We are sitting here with no control, and there are these people up there that we voted for, whatever, and they're just like calling the shots, and they want to start throwing nukes, and we're just collateral damage. And that's that. Like, I have zero respect for that. These are the same people that want to take half your paycheck, and no matter what country you live in, they're taking your money. I don't care, you know?
Some countries, they take it all and they're like, here's a little bread and cheese, you
Right.
know, knock yourself out.
Up 70%, shit like that. Come on now, whatever.
But I mean, what comes with war? I mean, wars, first of all, war is terrible because it's a massive loss of lives at one time. It's a destruction of property. It's a destruction of business. It's a destruction of land. War is terrible. I know I have friends who have been in war. Bubba the Mouth has been in war. You know, one of my best friends is a 20-year Ranger. He's been to war, you know, and the loss of lives and they don't even care. They don't value human lives. These governments don't care. This is also, well, let's break it down from the origins of this war. You know, you go back to 1994 when the Clintons, along with, I can't remember who was the Russian guy. It was either Gorbachev or the other dude. But anyways, Russia and the United States and the United Kingdom all talked Ukraine out of their nukes. Ukraine had some Russian nukes after the breakup of the USSR. And they were told to turn them over in protection. So they turned their nukes over to Russia. They were supposed to be protected. Well, deals were made and blah, blah, blah with Vladimir Putin that said, hey, NATO countries will never touch Russia. That'll never be. That was a deal made with Vladimir Putin, right? And I know I'm going to sound like a big pro-Russia guy right now. Trust me, I'm not, but I'm spitting facts right here. So Putin's like, hey, you guys keep trying to fuck around with this NATO shit here in Ukraine. I'm going to fuck you up. And so the United States keeps poking oh, by the way, we overthrow the Ukrainian government in 2014. I forgot to throw that in there. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, send the U.S. military into Ukraine in 2014, overthrow their government. Obama is the one who appoints Zelensky. Nothing shady about that right now. Nothing. And, you know, this is where we're at right now. But there was deals made with Russia saying, hey, you know, no NATO country, blah, blah, blah. Well, now the United States has this relationship with Ukraine, and there's talks about Ukraine joining NATO, and there's talks about biolabs of the United States going in there to Ukraine. Russia wants nothing to do with the West. Nothing. He hates our government. Vladimir Putin does not hate Americans. He does not hate us. He hates our government, okay? If he wanted to blow off nukes over here, he would have done it by now. He doesn't want to kill us, okay? He wants to kill our government. He wants to be a world power. That's my take on it anyways. And now we keep, you know, they keep dabbling in the NATO thing. And he said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You know, I don't want your biolabs here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. He finally did it, you know, and here we are. And I'm not saying what he did is right. Fuck Vladimir Putin, for real. He's a monster. He's an evil man. But does he have a legitimate beef? Well, kind of, you know, but I'm not going to be pro-war about it. Be like, well, he has all this reason to go fuck shit up. You know, this could have been, you know, talked about in a room somewhere with handshakes, but these world leaders love murder. That's why I refer to them as a murder cult. They love war so much that they don't give a fuck. They will never just, you know, have meetings in rooms and talk about it. They're like, no, we'll just blow each other up. How about this, motherfuckers? Get in a ring and bare knuckle box and have your own battles. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Brinley, take it.
All right. So when it comes to the Ukraine thing, I don't recall the U.S. military ever going into Ukraine in 2014. What happened instead was the Euromaidan coup, where essentially we did pick the ruler of Ukraine, and our goal was to essentially put Ukraine in our camp to make it more of a European friendly power as opposed to a Russian power, with the obvious intent to destabilize Russia's sphere of influence there. It was an act of aggression as far as I'm concerned. I'm really not Team Russia or Team West at this point in time, but the chessboard and the empires that are moving the pieces on the chessboard are endangering us all. They're endangering Ukrainian lives, Russian lives, and the lives of the people in Europe and in
Everywhere.
the US and around the world. And that's the bottom line. More than who's in the right here, Russia, Ukraine, or the United States, it's the people that aren't actively pursuing a peaceful solution, that have the power to do so, are costing lives and endangering us all. and that should be known.
Yeah.
That should be more than who's in the right here. That should be at the forefront of everyone's mind right now, as they proceed and view the news and see all of the escalation and all that other good stuff that comes along with war. I really don't care who's in the wrong here. I care about a peaceful solution, and I care about a peaceful solution yesterday.
Amen.
Because we are on the brink. We're the closest we've been in a while to nuclear destruction, and what we do now is very important.
It's extremely
and getting lost in the weeds as to who's responsible for this, or who should win and who should lose. If we don't pursue peace and get that, we all lose, all of us. So
yeah, because not only is the war going to cost, tens of millions of lives. I mean, tens of millions of people are going to die when that war really, really, really jumps off. Tens of millions of Europeans. But I mean, it's not even just about that part of the war. Now, countries like China and Russia, who have always been at odds, are now teaming up, right? And there's other countries that are starting to team up that have never really been on board before. And it's because they want to fight against us. We have pissed off enough countries right now to where if we do go to a full scale, if and when we do go to a full scale war with Russia, and it's going to happen, trouble's going to find its way here. Because there's people even in the EU Parliament saying that they should not be subservient to the United States government right now. Because, and I said it on the last show I did a few weeks ago, dude, when Biden blew up the fucking Nord Stream pipeline, dude, that's an attack on European infrastructure. That's a big time fuck around and find out, seriously. And then they're trying to say Russia did it. Now the truth's out, and like everybody knows. And I forget what other, I think Norway was in on that too, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. But I mean, other countries are very pissed off at us, and how's this world war going to turn out? Are we going to have the allies, or is the other team going to have the allies? And I really think that the other team has more allies than we do now. I really do. And that's going to be a problem, because if they got all our troops over there in Russia and Ukraine, who's defending the land here when that shit comes here?
400 million.
The arrogance of
Amen.
like something like the proposition of if you don't do what we want you to do, we're going to shut down your pipeline. I don't remember the exact words that were used, but it was talked about on television. It's like, it's undeniable that state actors had something to do with the Nord Stream pipeline being sabotaged, and it's pretty much undeniable at this point, and they've pretty much admitted it, or maybe not admitted it, but there's a lot of evidence that points to the U.S. having something to do with it. Just like, not only is that incredibly irresponsible and dangerous as it pertains to that potentially sparking a war between two nuclear powers, but also the price of heating homes in Europe in winter has skyrocketed for these people. And the arrogance of suggesting that is a price that we all need to pay in order to oppose another empire with aspirations similar to ours is insane. And I just can't wrap my head around it as like somebody who wants the best for everyone in the world,
Right. I mean, governments are evil, and they have been since the inception of people. I mean, before there was governments, there was monarchies and stuff like that. And even religions at some point, ran the show, and it's, a lot of it's based on murder. It's always, I want something from you, so I'm going to kill you and all your people and take it, this has been going on since the beginning of time. But we have to reject this as a people. I mean, we need all 300 plus million people on board right now to get their fucking ass to DC peacefully, NSA peacefully, and get loud and pump our fists and stomp our feet and make demands and scare the fuck out of them peacefully. But no, we need to get our asses there and say, we are not putting up with this shit. You're not going to get us all killed. You're done stealing our fucking money and giving it to everybody else. There's people living in tents underneath bridges on 8 Mile right now, and they're sending hundreds of billions of dollars to fucking kill people on the other side of the pond. What the fuck? Oof, calm down. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we're at right now, folks. This isn't a game anymore. It is not a game. And this is why we're talking about it. I don't want to black pill you guys no more. Let's talk about something nice. Who wants to talk about dogs or some shit? You know what I mean? Like, we got to pull out. We got to pull out dirty. But giggity. All right. But dudes and dudettes, man, we got to get it figured out. This is a big deal right now. We're in big times. I'm scared for the future. I'm scared for the children. I don't even have kids, and I'm afraid for children. You know what I mean? Like, look at what we're doing to them and what we're showing them. And look at the leadership that is in charge, that is like, poisoning their minds with this shit. Like, this is not a good future that we're setting up right now. It's actually a very scary one. And who the fuck knows, man? If everybody starts blowing off nukes, we could all be done. There's that. That's a real possibility, dude. Because once one person starts pushing buttons, another person's going to start pushing buttons. And when I say nuclear fallout, it's going down, y'all. But, that being said, let's move on to something else, because that's depressing. What's Cassie want to talk about here?
What do you want to talk about, man? Dogs? You brought it up.
No, I'm just trying to change the subject, man. I don't want to I want to end this show on a good note. Let's not. The world's ending, folks. Buckle up and fucking buy guns. You know what I mean? Like, geez.
Is that your best Alex Jones impression?
No, but I guess it could be taken that way. Wow. I guess, hey, that was my Alex Jones impression. Thanks.
World's gonna end.
But I don't have $1 billion, so you can't sue me, y'all. Fuck you.
Just sell some supplements, man.
I'll sell some herb. No, but yeah, let's talk about herb for a minute. I feel like the key to world peace is smoking weed, because if we all smoked a bong, we'd all get along. You know what I'm saying?
I know my lighter just died right there on camera.
That is some bullshit. That is some bullshit. But no, seriously though, like, if you want to talk about cannabis, we can talk about cannabis, because I feel like everybody's mental health is fucked up right now because of all this shit that's happening in the world. And cannabis is a wonderful, wonderful product for said crazy in your mind.
Everybody should smoke a joint.
Yes.
Everybody should share said joint. Right now, everybody should share a joint.
Seriously, light one up. Go to your neighbor's house,
Yep.
Go talk some shit, smoke a joint with them, crack a beer. I don't drink, but whatever.
Yeah, same.
Do whatever, man. Just, go out, talk to people, go make friends with your neighbors. I know that sounds so crazy for me, because I'm always like, people, get the fuck away from me. You
want to end the show on a positive note? I want to say this. Everything about what we're saying right here, this is the key. This is the key to agorism. This is the key to us all coming together and getting along and getting out of this divisive scenario that we found ourselves in. The government is dividing us up. It's your standard divide and conquer bullshit on the left and the right, whether it be for religious reasons or beliefs or racial or sexual or gender or what have you. They're divide.
Yep.
And if you take anybody from any of those groups and you get together and you smoke a joint, you'll probably find out that you have a lot more in common with your neighbors of different skin colors, of different religions, of different ethnic backgrounds. With that drag queen neighbor, I don't give a fuck. You probably have something in common with them, and they're probably not as bad of a person. I don't care whether they're Christian, if they're what have you. And on top of that, don't believe the words that you hear in the news, and don't believe the definitions that they throw at you, because when you see words like agorism, which is often like auto-corrected on most cell phones, because they don't even want you to know that this is a word. Okay. Right. Or when you turn on the news and they're showing an Antifa or BLM or January 6th or some crazy riot in another country, and they're like, oh, look, it's anarchy over there. That's not anarchy.
Not even a little bit.
Don't fall for that shit. That's a riot. That's chaos. That's
Yeah.
not anarchy.
Those are criminals and thugs that are fucking burning cities down and shit. Anarchists want to grow gardens and sing kumbaya and smoke their weed, left the fuck alone.
Right.
But no,
Just
like
get
for the
to know your
people,
neighbor, you know?
but like, and also like there's a lot of people be like, well, anarchy would never work or libertarianism would never work. And I'm like, well, it kind of works every day because
Every day.
every day it works because 99% of the people of the world go about their business and go to work and live their lives without killing people or raping people or, you know, taking their stuff,
you're
hurting
getting me.
anyone. Every day they do it. But they'll never just be like, hey, the news will never be, hey, you know, Cassie went to work today and he had a really good day and he didn't kill anybody or hurt
Never.
You know, they won't ever show that. They only show the fucking lunatics, you know, shooting up the streets and the schools and shit like that. And that only constitutes for maybe a little over 1% of the population. So you're telling me that fucking the other, you know, 98 or 99% of that can't handle that themselves? You bet your ass they could.
I'd say it's a fraction of a percent. And if
Like-
you
like,
think
seriously.
if you think that laws are the only thing preventing your neighbor from coming and knocking on your door and blowing you the fuck away, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah, exactly.
We're having a great conversation here. You know what? On DT, on Dangerous Thoughts, all throughout the week, we have spaces where there are Republicans, Democrats, Christians, atheists. There's Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans. You know, there's all sorts of people who could be considered, you know, against each other or foe or what have you. We have amazing conversations. We laugh. We have a great time. Some of us smoke weed, some of us drink, some of us don't do anything.
Right.
Some people are straight, some people are gay. Some people are having threesomes, you know.
Hey.
But we all have fun, man. We all get along. And I have a feeling, you know, that the world's waking up to that. I see more open-mindedness. I see less wokeness or what have you, whatever word you want to throw in. I see people in the younger generation starting to question things, and that makes me happy. I see, and I'm not saying you're going to find that online or what have you. I'm saying when you go out in your everyday life and you talk to the younger generation, there's a lot of them that say, you know, I don't follow politics. Good.
Yeah, good. You're saving yourself a lot of fucking headaches.
Like they're sick of it. They don't want to be involved. You know, this new generation, I have a feeling it's going to be a generation of non-voters. Boom. I have a feeling we're going to that. We're heading there pretty quick, and I'm happy to see that, man.
Yeah, I mean, me too, because what's voting going to do? It doesn't do anything. The elections are rigged, you know, and I'm not one of those, you know, 2020, that election was rigged and it was the only one that was ever rigged. I honestly,
they're all bullshit.
I think 2016 was rigged. I don't think Trump beat Clinton. I find that very hard to believe. I do. And people might think I'm nuts, but I'm like, I'm not too sure about that one.
Gary Johnson, man. If you had a gun to your head, you'd vote for Hillary or Trump, what would you do?
You want to know what? I did vote for Trump.
Let it go off.
My life, dude. Fuck my life. I immediately regretted it too. I did. But like, I wasn't a Gary Johnson guy. I should have just not voted that year. But my mindset
the media wrecked Gary Johnson, bro. The media destroyed him.
Yeah.
He is a great individual, and he has very sound policy. But I feel like the media just cherry picked all the goofy shit that he did and made like fucking slam reels and just aired it on every major news network and just ran him into the dirt.
Well, because they portrayed him, the media portrayed him to almost look like a socialist.
Yeah.
Which was very bizarre for a libertarian candidate. Like, what the fuck?
Well, if you're going to enter the political arena like that, like run for office, you kind of got to anticipate the smear merchants trying to, you know, run away with anything that you say and try to paint you as some sort of, you know, person that's unfit for the job. You got to be prepared for that. And I don't know if Johnson was. It's one of the reasons why I hate politics, because it's really not about what people need. It's literally just a vie for power by any means. It's unprincipled.
It's nothing about what people need. It's about what they want to do. That's politics in a nutshell, dude. It's not about what the country needs. It's about what they want to do. Period. And we get stuck floating the bill, and we're having enough of this shit, dude. It's time. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. The time is now. Wake up, get with your friends, go to your city council meetings, make nullification great, decentralize your money, decentralize yourselves, run the fucking banks, love your neighbors, love yourselves.
Work for yourselves, and you don't need anybody's permission to do so.
That's right. Be your own boss. Do
Everything you just said is revolutionary.
Everything you can to break free of the system. That is the ultimate goal. Do everything in your power to break free of the system. And I'm going to throw you another truth bomb right now. Electing Republicans and or Democrats ain't the fucking way to go. It's only going to get worse. I can promise you that with my whole heart. You keep electing these people, it's going to keep getting worse. You keep bowing down to the Federal Reserve, it's going to get worse. The time
Hallelujah.
is now. The time is now. The time is now. With that being said, love you guys all very much. Ryan, Cassie, thanks for doing this. Much love, y'all. Be good.